Our next conversation is going to be about education and the education sector. Our guests are coming in. They are going to sit down shortly, and then we will introduce them. But as they sit down, let's remind you that this is the second day of 3 days of national mourning that were announced by President William Ruto. This is just paint the picture here. You're a parent. You take your child to school, and then you hear that there's a fire in that school. You, of course, do the thing that parents will want to do. You rush to the school. You get there. You see some parents with their children. You don't see your child. You ask questions, and none are forthcoming. You're told that there are some children who have burnt to death in that fire. They are beyond recognition. That now their bodies have been taken to a mortuary. And the next thing that will happen is they'll have to be identified through DNA. This is your own child who has to be identified via DNA. So you're being told, can you give us your DNA sample so that we can identify whether one of these 19 charred remains that we have here is of your child. Now, can you imagine the agony that these parents are going through? And that's why it's important for us to talk about what exactly is this that's happening, not just there. When you hear that it's going to take a month to identify the bodies, we say, is that good enough? When you have all those questions that are, being asked, so what exactly happened? What led to this? This is not the first incident of fire in schools where children have died.
No.
How many more? And what is the cause of all this? And that's why we've invited our two guests. Beatrice Elachi is the Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North Constituency, and Dr. Maina wa Gaithuru is the Secretary General of the Parents Association in Kiambu County. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's obviously these 3 days, it's national mourning, but the mourning will continue for very many days, for very many people. And as happens in this country, we will forget. And the most, the saddest bit of it is that those who should not forget are the ones who are going to forget quickest. And that's why you're here, so we can discuss it. I just want to give you each a moment to, pass on your condolences to the school community, the parents, and everyone else. Starting with you, Mheshimiwa Beatrice.
Thank you, and good morning. Yes, as I say, it was a dark Friday, that very heartbreaking, that, as you say, we will forget. But I just want to give my condolences. And I always say, we just give it by mouth, my dear parents, because we have no idea what you're going through. It's only God who knows what you're going through. It is sometimes very difficult to imagine as a parent today of Hillside. Questions, many, yes, but also with no answers. And so I would say the psychological, the emotional is not as good as we would think as a country. We put 3 days of mourning, but then we will finish, but they will mourn forever. Because I saw the other day how we mourned our Moi girls. And when this girl came on social media graduating, it awakened another spirit. I looked at that social media, the parents who lost their children. It was not very good.
Yeah.
So it means that nobody ever forgets.
Yeah.
But it can be a testimony for us that can we try our best now as a country, that these children must be the last for us to ever talk about safety of children, and not just on fire, because there are many other things that happen that needs safety, and be the last in schools, that
Indeed.
We can lose young babies, children. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Dr. Maina.
On Friday, we are wakened up by cries of some of our parents who had taken their children to school but now they had been awakened by a call that nobody could have wanted to hear in the position of being a parent. As a parent association, we are so saddened because we are parent. We have no words, and I know now the words we may talk may not make sense to anybody who have lost a child. There are times that words cannot comfort. And when you lack words of comfortable words to somebody who have got this kind of loss, we'd only like to imagine that our government and the Minister of Education, they'll take it seriously, very seriously, than they have ever taken it before. Personally, we don't want to blame anybody. We would like to give the government time to inspect and do what is supposed to be done. But we know and we think if somebody ever slept in their job, they should now be taken in for questioning and asked why this might have happened. As Mheshimiwa has said, I think, could this be the last? We are wishing it could be. Because in Kenya, things keep on recurring. Matters have recurred from Shaguri, Boboluru, and our tears are on and on. Parent, try to accept that this has happened. Those are the most comforting words that I will give you from the Parent Association, because I know it is very difficult to accept. But this is the only option that we are left with.
That's true. Now, Siti is going to give us the day's proverb. Every week he goes to one African country and then gives us proverbs from that country. He has decided in the last couple of weeks that he's going to look at countries that border oceans.
Yes.
In the continent of Africa. That is the Indian Ocean.
And the Atlantic. The Atlantic, yes.
Okay.
Somebody may...
Because the Mediterranean is not an ocean.
Well, no, but the oceans feed into it. It's like the Gulf of Eden. Someone will tell you that it's the Mediterranean, but it is part of the Atlantic. You may not like, or the Gulf of Eden, it is part of the Indian Ocean.
The Red Sea is not an ocean.
It will remain red.
So in which country are we this week?
We are in the Federal Republic of Somalia.
Okay.
A country with an extremely rich history. Okay, and a country which had a very tumultuous past, rising from the ashes of colonialism, where there are two colonial masters, the Italians, the British, or let me get it in order, the British, the Italians, and then when they got their independence, a lot happened, and it wasn't for the good. It's only now that the country is actually beginning to recover. Okay. The mouth doesn't... If a mouth, let me start again. Here I am mixing myself up. It's one of those mornings. You know, when you talk of tragedy, your mind tends to travel very many distances and thinks very many things. A mouth that doesn't belong to you cannot be shut up.
A mouth that does not belong to you cannot be shut up. Now, the job that you have, Dr. Maina, is to give us your own interpretation of that proverb. But because you're a guest and Beatrice has been here before, we're going to start with her. What's the interpretation of this one?
You were thinking. No, her reaction, she thought, well, since Mheshimiwa has been here with us, we're going to give her pass.
Oh, God. So the mouth that does not what?
A mouth that doesn't belong to you.
It doesn't belong to me.
Cannot be shut up.
Cannot be shut up.
Yes.
So are you telling me that because let me
think through. Maybe Dr. Gaithuru has...
Because what I was about to say might be a mouth that will shut me up.
I think
okay.
I need to rephrase.
Okay.
I think I may guess, because I think in guessing everybody is light. And I think a mouth that doesn't belong to me, I may not be able to control it. And if we are talking in the perspective of mourning, then of course that is you cannot shut a mouth that is full of sorrow. You cannot shut a mouth that cannot contemplate what has happened. And I think in my own take is that now our parents who are crying, who their mouth are wide open, they are perturbed, they can no longer comprehend that there's a government, there's a management in a school that is taking care of their children. They cannot be shut up, because I think, in my own thinking, is this that it's too much to comprehend, it's too much sorrow to bear. So I think we unless we devise some methodologies on how any wording that we speak today cannot make sense.
That's a good one.
So, my thinking is that in the many things we agonize on as Kenyans, we ask ourselves, we have a good constitution, a progressive one. I don't know, we have this law and this law and this law. Then we enter into an animal called the government, which is not the president, it's a government. So people will come and say, the government is the president, the government is the army, the government is this. But we are unable completely to shut and realize which one can guide us properly to where we want to go. And maybe that is why we are antagonized so much, that while we will want to see good things in Kenya, this mouth, we are unable to get it properly and see how to deal with it. That's how I look at it.
There are too many mouths.
Too many.
And instead of talking the right words, they're eating.
Indeed.
Okay. Let's talk about our education sector. And, we said that this topic is going to be about looking at our education sector and whether it's in shambles or not. Ndu, this is your pet topic. Give us the introduction and the lay down for it.
Well, let's look at this from a point of view of what the calls have been over the last couple of days. In my opinion, a little bit too late. It's not necessary that a tragedy has to occur or that things seem to be going down the rabbit hole before now somebody says, let's do something about it. If we look at one of the stories that's in the dailies today, the Education Ministry has been directed by the courts to establish standards and quality, to establish a Standards and Quality Council in the next 2 months. So if there has been a call for that, then means obviously that the standards and quality are below par. They are not where they need to be in this country. Whether we talk about it from the very basic level until the top, or if you want to go from the top and come down to the bottom, at every level something is wanting. Now, if we look at quality and standards, just 5 short years ago, we had a tragedy, just like this one, where young children in a constituency that neighbors yours, children died. A school collapsed in broad daylight. And we were waiting to hear, all right, what is the state of schools around the country? We still are yet to know what the true picture is. We've had schools burned down. We've had children die. We have had, today, unanswered questions. This is happening alongside capitation not going to schools in the manner in which it's supposed to go. We have a funding model which doesn't work at the higher level of education. We have no quality assurance in schools, for which gets the lion's share of the national budget every year. 640 billion shillings this financial year is what has been allocated to education. And unfortunately, we cannot see what equals 640 billion, unfortunately. And so everything that happens adds on to an already terrible situation. And the question must be, why is there such a dismal performance when it applies to the very pillars of the foundation of this society, which is the education of children? It's not good. And that's being very polite. What is happening and what needs to be done to start to pick away at this problem? Some of the things that we talked about. You, Mweshimiwa, said a couple of days ago that children in primary school should not board. They should be next to their families and they should be next to their parents or their guardians. These are all so many issues which are so layered. There is too much going wrong in the education sector for no attention to be paid to it. Where do we begin?
Okay. I begin this way. that one, before I even say anything, I think we have to go back to ourselves and ask, do we have a human heart? First of all, for our children, all of us as parents, because it's a question that will hover all of us, will have to reflect in us. Because one thing we have to understand, children need love. That's all they need when they are children. They need just love. And so when you look at now what we are going through, and I know parents will say we have challenges, I have work. True, we have work, we have all this. And I think the most important thing that everyone must ask, he or she, especially when we have children in boarding schools who are, let's say, for example, primary school, which I have too, St. George's and Nairobi Primary. But I'll tell you, every day we walk in the school and it's different than, I don't want to equate other boarding schools, but I'll tell you, it's more like home when you enter those schools. So if we want really to put our young babies in boarding, let's make the school then a home, not just a school, a home, because this child moves on. And you imagine right now how our children are very young in school. You find that a child is 8 years, is already in grade 4 or 3. And you're 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8-year-olds.
That's how they are, very young. You don't know how to even do your panties, your vests. You have no idea even how to wash. Now, I have put you into a Kenyan school, which is okay. But this Kenyan school has no capacity to bring you now the right caregiver who will be in this school for these children who are from the age, let me say, age 10 coming down. They won't have. They will be taught exactly the way age 13, who is a teen, who is trying to think of his life, and who is also going to have challenges, because that is the time. There are 3 key things that age is also dying for. 1, to identify himself or herself. 2, to ensure he starts understanding these relationships. Okay. 3, and he's coupling with all these things, and he wants to know, and he's there. That's the time you'll hear them telling you, I need my room. So you have to explain, because maybe you won't have a room. But you'll sit down and say, yes, I understand, which is good. Because you realize he's starting to identify, or she's identifying herself, that I am now growing. I need my room, I need this, and they will always have. Boys become conservative. So if you're in a boarding school, you tell me how you have somebody now to care for you at that age. And I think that is why I felt with CBC being domiciled so much in primary school up to year 9, why can't we just have them in day schools, so that as they go to high school in year 10, it will be better for them. But then the other thing we must agree and say all of us leaders have failed is quality assurance. Because when we had the first fire, those days of Bombolulu, those days, what quality assurance did we put in? The standards. Do schools follow standards that they have been given? And is there someone who follows through to check every school? Let's say when the year starts, you come in and check. You have now admitted more than you had last year. So let's say, for example, Kenya High, when they were admitting Form 1s, we have 900. You tell me.
900 Form 1s.
Form 1s. And you tell St. George's, 610. It means everything expanded beyond what Mwalimu can accommodate. So have we ensured, has the ministry ensured at that time, we have standards for the school. We have, that time you'll find your dome the way Hillside now is. That dome will be absolutely with more than kids you were expecting. Because there's no infrastructure we added when they were coming in. So that's where the challenge now starts.
I think it's interesting that you say that, and I think we just need to clarify something, because I've seen a comment here on social media, and I need to make it very clear that when we talk about standards and we talk about quality, that there is no council for standards and quality in Kenya today. It has not been established. Justice Lawrence Mugambi yesterday said the ministry should appoint officers to the council as required by Section 64 of the Basic Education Act.
Yeah.
He said failure by the ministry to establish the council was an affront to the rule of law and principles of governance. They've been given 60 days to set up the Education Standards and Quality Assurance Council, which is ESCAC, within 2 months. It does not exist.
It just brings us to what happens in this country. We are very, very, very good at thinking, designing, but never good at, following through and implementing. So, in the very brilliant thinking of the drafters of that law, they said, we need standards, and then the standards, we're going to have it premised in a council that is sort of semi-autonomous and independent, that brings in various actors who will be overseeing the standard and quality assurance in our schools. Not established. Those are questions that
the department exists.
Yes, it does.
That's the thing. I want to come to you, Dr. Maina. As parents, you are critical stakeholders in a school. Okay, so this man used to be chair of a board of management of a school. Have they approached you again?
Been a head teacher.
Have they approached you again to? So this man has served as a head teacher, head of the school,
head teacher.
And chair of the board
of management, yes.
And you have then of course looked at, and you're a parent,
yes,
and you're therefore a member of the Parents Association,
yes.
Okay, Dr. Maina, as parents, do parents have a say in how a school is run, managed, governed?
A parent has a controlled say. Let me start from there. Controlled say because they are the financier. They give the finances to the administration, and it's good that one person in this studio had been a manager. He will clarify where I'll be wanting. And parents, when they give money, they have no control of that money whatsoever. The parent association has a PA chairperson in every school.
Yeah.
And you find. And I was actually speaking much more outside here. We have a Basic Education Act that was enacted in 2013, and therefore the PA is recognized by our government. But what happens in the say of the parliament, in the say of the parent, when I say it is controlled, is because when you give your finances, you just give it for it to be managed by the managers. We have the Parent Association and we have the BOM. But basically, where the say of the parent is very wanting is because, like, when you take your child in a dormitory or when you are being admitted in could be, for example, I use a nearby school, St. George's, or could be State House Girls. You'll never be shown the dormitories, and that's why I'm saying we are controlled in a way that, or we are managed, because no parent will tell you my girl or my boy is staying in this dormitory and the parameters have been checked. So the quality assurance is in shambles. I can say that.
So what does the law say? When the law recognizes that there's going to be a parents association,
yes,
in every school,
yes,
what duties and responsibilities does the law give to the parents association?
In the basic education, in the third schedule, 6, very specifically, A to F, speaks about the role of the parent, that they shall provide for nutritional value to their children. They shall give the momentaries, that they shall pay for the school fees. They shall also monitor the development in the school. It is now the monitoring where we have a very big gap, because the monitoring will be done by the principal, will be done by the teacher. There are some things that will be wanting, they don't want them to be monitored. So I think there is where we lose our mark. And the basic education is very eloquent and it is very clear on the role of the parent. However, it is the management of that role that sometimes is micromanaged by the administration of the schools. And this makes now the parent, and I'm happy that we have a principal on site, so you'll be able to stamp that they micromanage, because there are things that very serious matters that they want to hide, especially on matters finance. you find that a dormitory that was supposed to be made in this statute, it was supposed to have even to be very friendly to the disabled, to be friendly to every child, because every child has a right. You find that it has not been, everything has not been executed. Our quality assurances are compromised by the Murio wa Shiringi. You know, when they see the sharing, that of course we are the financier, and it is misappropriated even to compromise our education quality assurance officers, because if they had not been compromised, what happened in Ed Russia could not have happened. What happened in Moi Girls could not have happened, because the space could have been kept, because this is how it is stipulated in the dormitories. You are supposed to live like this. So I think if our law, we are left and given the freedom to man the schools as the Act stipulates. Because the Act is very clear that we shall have 6 parents elected in an AGM to be members of the BOM, and then we have 3 members also from the PA who are also co-opted during the enactment of our board. Then if that was put in place and then they are allowed to have the freedom, then education could have been then the parent freedom, and then their law could be been executed without any compromise.
We are talking about our education sector. Is it in shambles? And as Ndu has just given us that background, look, we have had all these tragedies in schools over many years, and every time there is always a promise that this will never happen again. Fires happen, children die in accidents on the road, buildings collapse in schools, and still we continue seeing them happening. The issue of quality assurance doesn't happen. The issue of how much money is going into our education sector. On paper, this is the one thing that gets the biggest chunk of our budget. And then in practice, it is where also people are eating in the name of ghost teachers, ghost schools, ghost students, and we end up with facilities that are not able even to accommodate our children. What's happening to education sector? Beatrice Elachi, MP Dagoretti North, and Dr. Maina wa Gaithuru, Secretary General, Parents Association, Kiambu County. City.
The problem with education we can't even begin the journey of resolving it if all we're doing is reacting to consequences of what has not been done over time. Because this is what we are faced with. The Ministry of Education has very clear guidelines as to what the size of a classroom should be. They know. And how many students should be in it? 30. Okay, it's known. The Ministry of Education, when you have a rising population like the one we do, which seems to be on the run, should build schools. The Ministry of Education doesn't actually build new schools. They leave the private sector to do that. Okay, now private sector should be monitored to ensure that they meet these standards. They rarely are. So you find classrooms that are the size of a cupboard, and you want students to fit in here with a desk and everything. You actually wonder, do they want the students to learn on top of each other, or do they? Now, I am actually being dramatic about it, because if you look at just the burst of our population, the government response to it has been the existing schools must continue having as many students as you possibly can cram into the existing spaces. Now, it's a very, very simple understanding that has been proven by research over time. The reason why you are likely to find that there's a lot of unrest in places where people live in close proximity like slums is because of the human need for space. It's not even complicated. I'm simplifying this thing. If you have young people who are growing, their minds are growing, the understanding is exploding in their heads, and you do not even provide them with what you call that space, and then they have to deal with all these issues, which are consequences of what should be done but is not done. It's always a tender keg. In fact, if you ask me, we are fortunate that most schools don't have the calamities that we keep having. Because this is something that we've been nurturing. This is something that we ourselves, as Kenyans, have been building. And I say building because parents can demand to see dormitories.
Oh, yes.
Parents can demand to see where it is that the children are learning. Now, in many cases, Kenyans have what we call, I call it a national coping mechanism. You don't ask too many questions. So long as you're not suffering unduly, okay? You suspend your rights. Yes. And you figure, how can we cope with this? Yes,
just
we
get
can.
him by.
Is the pain? It's not too much, but there's pain. But let's just move on. Now, we've institutionalized it.
The at least mentality has been
Niko
institutionalized.
tu at least. Unajua tu, yes.
At least wako na basi.
Well, at least, and we keep saying it, and we've internalized it. So now, it requires a calamity of this magnitude for us to say what's happening. But then again, with the coping, we've learned. We go into public mourning, and we really talk.
We make noise.
And we speak, and we speak, and we look at the Education Act, and we talk. Give it a week.
It all goes.
It goes.
Professor George Magoha, what did he do? After Precious Talent, he ordered a crackdown, inspect all schools
in the
shut down
Republic.
those that do not meet the standard.
Give us a report by the
Give us a
30th of
report.
October.
Yeah.
To date. To date.
But you see, teachers are very intimidating because a parent will try to raise up their hand to ask a question, and then the teacher will cautionary tell them, remember, you are leaving my child with you. You see, that is so intimidating. Yes, this is happening in halls. It has happened in my presence. I have had principals, and especially even ladies.
These are in schools, public schools.
Yes. Yes.
Private schools don't have that problem.
So you don't question why you are going to the dormitory, because you're in siasa, and we don't like parents who are activists. You will be called an activist because you are asking to know where your child is sleeping. And nobody wants to be labeled. And I think, just to say what we are saying, labeling somebody, Kenyans will fear to be labeled because you are being actually intimidated with your own child, that you are leaving mtoto wangu na mimi.
But I think also we have the PTAs in the schools. And if the PTAs are serious in their schools, they are the ones to tell the other parents how the dorm is. So one of the things I will plead with the PTAs, because in Dagoretti North, by the way, for me, education, you don't bring politics. We don't play those games. I always tell, even the teachers know, we don't do those things you don't do in school. Because I always tell them, if there is no education, where is this child going? So when you start bringing me all these politics, I'm a politician, yes. But in education, they know, even me, I'm a parent. In fact, when I enter at school, all the things of politics is gone. We don't do those things you can come late as a politician, we allow you, we started a meeting at this time to stop and restart. Never, not in Dagoretti North. It can never happen. You knew we were coming for a parents' school, a parents' day. We've come, we started. You will find us where you are. We'll introduce you. You sit, we continue. But we cannot stop, give you a time to do a speech. No, not in Dagoretti North. But then, we have started now embracing that education is the only thing you can give a Kenyan child that will push this child to his destiny, her destiny. And so for me, I want to plead with all PTAs across the country. When you go to school, don't be so excited when you see your politician walking in. Be very serious, because what role model are we giving these children? And we want them to go and do their best. I have a problem with only one thing in schools today with teachers, just one. So you decide, because it is in a slum, break will be like for 1 hour. So when I walk in there, I ask, so break is supposed to be, as per the government, breaks in school is 45 minutes. So what are children doing up to 12? The bell has rung, they are still in the field. I said no. In my constituency, in fact, teachers in my constituency, they know, and me, I don't tell you I'm coming.
But then you see, Mheshimiwa, this is where now the issue comes in, right? Your role in Parliament is oversight.
Yes.
Do you go back to Parliament and present a report and say, this is what is happening in schools in Dagoretti, and other members come and say, this is the same that's happening in our schools, and it's because of a lack of a quality assurance council?
Now, even
because those are all quality assurance issues. It means that these children, their time that they're spending learning is reduced because they are allowed to play for an extra 25 minutes or 30 minutes.
It's not even the council. Do you know we have officers? A whole department is there. So it's not even about... One thing I have said in Kenya, we like forming things, but when I'm given a desk to do my work, isn't it for me to think through and say, okay, I may lack this tool, but I can create this tool and still do my work.
But that's the problem, Washimiwa.
But then I know we are not very
they're
many.
not being done.
Especially in Gava, who will think that way. Gava will want to tell you, I need a budget, I need this, I need this. So me, I ask them, fine. It's the same way the PTAs will also tell me, we need a budget. But I ask them, you have your representatives in school. They come, they sit on the board, they do all these things. They represent the classrooms. Parents are able to give money to Kesha and the other team. That money must be shared equally to all of you, because all of you are doing activities in school, not just teachers. But then at the same time, we go back to ourselves as Kenyans. I think the problem is not even all these things we put in place. The problem is us. Us. What do we want for our country? What do we want?
We want people to do their jobs.
We want people to do their job. At the end of the
There's
day,
no people.
I don't think there's an appreciation.
People need to do their jobs.
There's
Yes,
no
I'm saying
Yes.
it's the Kenyan. It's not a people. It is a person called a Kenyan who is supposed to be doing
It's an
her
education.
job.
It's an
his
education
job.
officer. It's a headmaster. It is an MP.
Is he not a Kenyan?
Do your jobs.
Is he not a
That's
Kenyan?
what we Kenyans want.
All
Seriously,
of
what-
us.
What we Kenyans
us.
want.
Yes.
What we want is that.
Because you went the other day. I asked somebody, "Did I tell you to go and become a teacher?" No.
But Mheshimiwa,
You took it as a career, dedicated that this is my career. This is what I believe in.
Mheshimiwa, I think where we are coming from is I think we don't have an appreciation for just how bad this thing is.
No,
and
we
when
do.
when we talk about an education officer, for me, what it means, and please stop me if I'm wrong here, and let's use Dagoretti North as an example. If an education officer working within their right, let's say of quality and standards, goes to, give me a school in Dagoretti North.
Gatina Primary.
Yes. And goes and does an audit of how class is happening between the hours of 8, which is when they normally start, or sometimes 7 o'clock, and then 3 in the afternoon, and sees that there's something wrong. Something is just not quite meeting the mark. Unfortunately, the practice and behavior is, I've gone to the school, I've finished.
Hawa ni watoto wako wangu. Unajua ni wengi sana hawa. Hata mwalimu amechoka.
Wamemaliza. Wameandika exam. That's it. The bare minimum is what is being delivered, and we are okay with that. I dare say that the person who went, Professor Magoha, may God rest his soul, the person who went and inspected at Precious Talent, they told us, saw that there was a problem and kept quiet and said, I have inspected the school. See, it's still standing. And there's children there. They're in school. They've read.
Always
today.
the excuse is, you see, this one is serving a community.
It is helping now. So
If I shut down this school,
bring it
where
down.
will these children go? Those are the other sides of the questions that come in. I heard you saying, Washimo, in Parliament, about a school in your constituency. I don't know whether it's Gatina, where some construction had started, construction stopped, one of those classrooms. Was it you or was it someone else? Classroom had started, classroom had not finished, and now you had to come in and start, initiating, let's complete these classrooms because
In Lavington.
children, it was Lavington.
Lavington girls.
Yes. Because students are here and we have got to finish.
Lavington girls.
And there is no accountability for what ought to have happened that didn't happen.
And because there's nobody to demand accountability,
But
it is the
even
same
now-
problem of, if we look at take a national outlook, it doesn't matter where you look.
Yeah.
Because there's no insistence on accountability. People are getting away with daylight robbery and murder, basically.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody to push and say, hold on a minute, Eric, you were there. Did you do your job? Somebody's reminding me of a story that we gave last year. A guy's job was to walk into a factory every single day, go to the switch, check. The temperature is supposed to be 23. He makes sure it's 23. If it's 22 or 24, he reports. That's his job. He understands that is what he's supposed to do every single day, because if he doesn't, something is going to go wrong. Now, unfortunately, what has happened is that somebody has been checking. Things have been going wrong, but we've allowed them to keep going wrong until the place where we are today. Children are dying. Education is not being delivered in the manner in which it ought to be. Capitation is not being sent. There are fake schools, there are fake students, there are fake accounts, and it's okay. In what warped world is it okay? That's my question.
So, my only biggest fight with Ministry of Education is just one. Before we even talk about all these other things, can they allow every child in Kenya, does not matter whether you are in Abed school, whatever school you are, can you first have a NEMIS number? A number that says, I am a child, 6 years old, I have joined school. It does not matter whether you are in which school, but first you have joined school. So that let's account for the numbers we have, the children we have, those who are going to school. Then from there on, when we talk of capitation, even when somebody comes here and says, okay, the budget is 600 billion, but you're able to say each child, according to our NEMIS number and data, we have 2 million, 5 million. This is the budget. By capitation, each child will be taking this amount. So if you want to come in as somebody who wants to assist to do, just know this child has this amount, you can assist on this. You can assist on uniform. You can, because that's how the gray area starts. That's where the gray area is completely covered by the ministry. And so even if we say we are giving them 600 billion, we have no idea how we are counting. Is the 600 billion for children capitation? How many? Primary, how many? Nobody will tell you. We've made it.
You're always given
we've used
number.
An excuse of saying they don't have, like in the same schools of the slums you're talking about. You realize many of them don't have birth certificates.
Yep.
No.
So the ministry have taken advantage. If there are only 200 with birth certificates, that's the capitation that comes to a school that has 3,600 kids. And so you ask, why would you do that? Then the other mistake we did as politicians is that I go and build schools. I have built schools. You have some schools that have 100 kids. We have others that have, I don't know, less. And we have refused to accept it was wrong. Because you have taken now teachers for 100 kids, and yet there's a school not very far that has more than 700 children, less teachers.
5,000.
But you will be screaming to TSA and saying, I want teachers. Yet when you are planning to build a school, you must put in all these indicators that as I build the school, I will need teachers, I will need staff to come and support these children. So to be honest, we also did a mistake. And when we are going through CBC, we must try and ask ourselves those questions and deal with those mistakes, because we are just spending money. Now, you are supposed to now ensure this school is good, but it doesn't have children. So how do you do that? But when you ask, Mheshimiwa will tell you, the clan on that side cannot school in the clan on this side. Because I sit in the city. I sit in the CDF committee. It's very sad. You go down there, they tell you. Then I ask them, but high school, you're sitting together. You're going high school together. There's no high school for your clan. But why is it in primary you want to have your clan in your own school, and this other clan in the other school? So all this, as we speak, we have to be very honest, as you say. Yes, we have wronged. We have wronged by making education to become politics. We wronged there also. As a country, it was very wrong. But then the ministry also, even today, what the ministry has built as a classroom. I wrote to Belio the other day, I said, I'm about to bring down what you build, because it is so, as you were explaining it, it is
standards.
Very, you can't even understand. So were you building just to finish, or what was the real agenda? You build a school, and I want you to visit Lavington, because we have not removed it, even though we have put Lavington Girls, it's just there. And look at that classroom Ministry of Education did for us. At that time, there was no stairs to go there. There was nothing.
So it's a classroom
on
the
first
floor. It was
hanging like this.
But no stairs.
No stairs. Now is when we have come to put in stairs so that we can use. Now, when we build the ones for CDF, the standard now goes, I don't know where. You look at it, it's in the middle of two classrooms. You're wondering, so do we bring it down? What do we do for it to come to this level?
Do you know you've just described, Mheshimiwa? You've actually answered the question that we sought to look at when we're talking about the state of our education. That right there, you've painted the perfect picture of what our education system has become.
It's in shambles.
So I think
systemic failures. Yes, Maina.
Yes, I think I wanted to there's something she put in, and I do not want to interrupt her when she was talking. And this was about the money collected by Kesha. These are not our welfare for teachers. And there's also money collected by Kepsha. He was talking about it being shared. But the Act says, one of the rules of the Parent Association is this is the Basic Education Act 6. 2013 6, and says the parents are the ones who are given the mandate even to collect that money. Discuss and recommend measures for the welfare of the people. That is one of them. And then in after it says undertake and oversee development projects on behalf of the parent association. Again,
and the moral values.
Yes. And also the parents are mandated to explore ways to motivate the teachers and the pupils and to improve their performance in both academic and co-curricular. They are supposed to collect money, but now money is collected by other welfares, and in the presence of this act, which I would say that has been raped, abused by other people, in the presence of members of parliament, because we have a basic education. We also have a committee for education in parliament that is supposed to see this is executed.
It's the oversight.
It is executed, but us here we are in a quagmire. Basically, as a body, and of course, there's the other people who are pseudomoners, for lack of better word, and you find that they are collecting money. They are collecting money for activities that is supposed to be actually executed by the parent association, and they take the money for themselves, for keeps. They go for the conferences. They invite the president, and they make it political, so that even the president and the vice president had come, so to debate other people. But what I'm saying is that if what you said, I'm supporting you actually. If that money has been shared, as Mheshimiwa has been said, for all the activities, and the key and pivotal activities are those ones that are supposed to be carried by the parent, because the parent are supposed to oversee for their children, because once they are parent. Some of the MPs might have been parent, but might be grandfathers. They might not be having children in school. But what I'm saying, as a parent who have
grandchildren in school,
as a parent who has a Nava generation, I should be very eloquent that we are being disowned by our own people and by our parliamentarians, because an act is supposed to be implemented. Imagine an association without funding, an association that Treasury doesn't give a single cent. How would you say that we are going to oversee education in this country?
But let me ask this. So we are the parents. All of us here are parents.
Yeah.
I think without fair, using, let me say, we are the key stakeholders. You see, education. Parents are the key stakeholders. If parents decide today in Kenya, I want home learning for my child, so where will a teacher go? Because the home learning nowadays, we have different innovations that they will use. They will even go on Zoom and say, now my child will be learning with a class in London. What will the teacher do? So teacher must know the first person you must take care of is the parent who brings you the child, because he or she is key for you to have that child in school and to call it a school. So why I'm saying that is that as all your PTAs, you must just go to every school and put in and just say, look, we shall be these are our activities. We shall be doing this per region, per whatever. And but
the
more importantly,
be more proactive. You see the way we're saying everybody should do their job.
Yeah.
If you're in the Parents Association, do your job, Maina.
Yeah.
In Parliament,
I have to do my job.
Right.
So in Parliament, I will go, and ask the Education Committee, why is it the Quality Assurance Council has not been established ever since 2013 when the Act was passed? What is the issue?
Yes.
And then number two, we have to ask ourselves also, because this is where we sometimes, you see, all these things we create, there's committee of this, that's how we refuse to do work. Because we throw the game ball, it was your committee, it was this committee. Those are some of the things
We've
that are putting.
We've got to end there.
Yeah, we find ourselves missing the ball because everyone is blame gaming the other. They have known there's a loophole. See, when you have 10 committees, you'll have a loophole. Even you in your office, when you are doing all these departments, you have to make sure your circle where you are delivering can come to the end without having loopholes.
Too many mouths and you
Yes.
can shut none. But
Exactly.
Beatrice Elachi,
Exactly.
Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North, and Dr. Maina Gaithuru, Secretary General of the Parents Association, Kiambu County. Thank you very much for joining us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.